Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Shana Southern. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. Today, I have with me the lovely Emily Baines. Emily suffered a molar pregnancy, then went through pregnancy after loss, and then lost another baby to an early miscarriage. In turn, herself and some others within the baby loss community set up the M word to offer support to people going through miscarriage, baby loss, and infertility. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, all the way from the UK.
Yeah, all the way from, well, it's not very sunny.
It wasn't here today either. I'm so grateful to have you here with me, with us, everyone listening in. I followed your journey and the other lost mums that are part of the M word as well for a while now. And, you know, being able to use your experience to be that sort of guiding light for other people takes something extra special. Do you want to share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so I'll start with myself then. So in 2019, myself and my partner decided that we would come off any contraceptive that we'd been on and just see what happened. We were only, I was 21, 2021 nearly. So we just thought we'd see what had happened. We'd been together for 6 years. So we got pregnant really quickly. Unbeknown to us, I didn't find out until I was about 8 weeks pregnant. And showed really quickly. So I had a really big stomach. To the point where I couldn't hide that I was pregnant. Everyone was saying, "You've definitely got twins in there. It's definitely more than one baby in there. You're showing you are huge." Scheduled a 12-week appointment because it was Christmas. When I was 12 weeks, the scan ended up being 13 and a little bit, like 13 and a half weeks. But 3 days before the scan on the 1st of January 2020, I had some bleeding. I'd been at work and I'd just started bleeding, and I'd not naively didn't know anything about miscarriage or baby loss or anything of the sort. And we went to the hospital, and obviously said this isn't right. I wasn't in any pain or anything like that. It was just bleeding, which I knew wasn't normal. But the hospital turned me away, said that I was fine if I was in no pain, that I'd be okay, like the baby would be okay. So I went home, but more bleeding happened, and I just knew there was something not right. So I did go back. Me and my partner and my sister-in-law went to the hospital, and I just said, you need to scan me. We need to see what's going on. So we laid down in this room, and they scanned me, and it was silent, what seemed like forever, and they just said, there's no sign of a baby, which confused me because that's not normally what you hear. It's normally there's no heartbeat. So I was really shook. I didn't know what to think. My partner was really upset. He knew what that meant. Like, he was really upset. And I remember saying, "What do you mean there's no baby? Like, what does that mean?" She said, "There's no sign of an actual fetus on this scan, but there is something inside the womb, but I need to get a second opinion on it." So I was like, right, okay. So at this point, I was still a little bit hopeful, a bit like, well, there's something in there, so maybe I'm just not as far on as I think I am. So they put us into this little room, this grievance room that had some lovely quotes all on the inside, and I was a bit numb to it. Didn't really show any emotion or anything like that. My partner was really upset. Like, I think he got it before I got it, that the baby was gone. And then a doctor and a nurse and another lady came in this room and just tried to explain that they thought I was having a molar pregnancy. Obviously, I'd never heard of it. The hospital where I live have only dealt with it once before in the last 10 years. So nobody really knew what it was, what was happening. And they gave me this leaflet and said, "This is what a molar pregnancy is. We don't really know what's happening as of yet. We need to take your bloods. You need to come back in 48 hours and have them done. And if these levels aren't coming down, it shows that you've definitely got this molar pregnancy." So off we went home, New Year's Day, sobbing, thinking we was going to tell everyone that, well, we told close friends and family that we were pregnant, but thinking we were going to be able to show this scan. And it had obviously all been taken away from us. So just with a singular A5 piece of paper of a leaflet, we returned then 48 hours later, had the bloods. Obviously the bloods weren't coming down, they were just rising. So they test the HCG, the pregnancy hormone. That is how they determine if you've got the molar pregnancy or not, and if your body's still thinking you're pregnant. They said that I need to have an operation to have the tissue removed as soon as possible, so they can send it off to determine definitely what type of molar pregnancy I was having. Still at this point, I was really none the wiser, not having a clue what I was going through. Excuse me. So there wasn't much information online. There wasn't much information anywhere that I could find. The only thing that you can find when you Google molar pregnancy at that time was cancer, which obviously I expected a baby, nothing else. So I had an operation a few days later on my birthday, had everything taken out. And when I come around from surgery, he said, you've done really well in the operation. Everything went okay. Like, parts of this will get taken away. And I just remember saying, because obviously at this time I didn't know what a molar pregnancy again was. I asked if the baby would be put somewhere, or the remains would be put somewhere, and he said that they can like cremate them and put them in this garden with other people that have gone through early pregnancy loss at this time, and they put them all in a garden. So that's what we were requested to do. They told me the results would take 6 weeks and that I'd need to take it easy. So I did it. I was off work for this period of time. But 10 days later, I got a call to say they wanted me to go in to discuss the results. So again, me, my partner, and my sister-in-law went into the hospital, where they said, "You've got a complete molar pregnancy and you will not be able to get pregnant for at least a further 6 months." So they explained what it was. They explained what would happen next. And I was sent on my way to do urine and blood tests every 2 weeks and send them to a specialist hospital. I didn't really realise what it was still until 6 months down the line. I really didn't come to terms with it very well. Felt very suicidal, did try to take my own life within that time. And look, I lived at home with my dad and my partner through lockdown. So luckily they were there and helped me a lot. But yeah, it wasn't a very good time. And then after 6 months, luckily, they said that the molar pregnancy had gone and everything was back to normal. So yeah, that's what happened at the first loss that I had.
Wow. I was just thinking, like, as you were talking, so much of what you went through happened on what's meant to be celebration moments, Christmas,
Yeah,
New Year's, your birthday. Um, and yeah, and again, of course, like when you're trying to then like loss, because there is such a lack of information, it kind of forces us to do our own research.
yeah,
And what you often find isn't necessarily supportive. And for you, what you sort of came across wasn't supportive. Like they're saying cancer, and you're like, well, that's not what I was going through, but there's nothing sort of out there to sort of support me.
yeah,
Will support you through that. And I'm so sorry that you felt at that time that taking your life was your option. And I'm sorry that that's kind of where your experience came to. Obviously, I'm glad that you ended up getting the support that you needed, and you're here today and you are supporting other people through this as well.
yeah.
Did you want to, like, you sort of mentioned as well with what we've sort of spoken about prior was also pregnancy after loss. So there's always going to be that sort of underlying fear of it's happened to me before, it's going to happen again. How did you feel that you were able to navigate that time?
So having a molar pregnancy, you are more at risk of having another. So if you've already had one, it's about 1 in 80 women then can get another. So obviously it's quite a big number to say how rare a molar pregnancy is, but you still feel like it's gonna happen to you. Once they told me that I could get pregnant again, we didn't. I found it too difficult. It was really, really difficult for me to even think about again. And I think it was a further 3 months before we even like discussed it again. Once I'm type 1 diabetic too, so that impacts the pregnancy massively. So I was under watch from the hospital. They helped me to get on all the folic acid, all the best. I have to have more folic acid than a normal pregnant person would. So they helped me. So I prepped myself taking all these tablets and got pregnant again pretty quickly. So again, because it happened pretty quickly, and that's what happened the first time, I just thought it's going to happen again. Because I'd already obviously been pregnant once and I didn't really realize at the time, you do show quicker with your second pregnancy. And obviously, again, that just sent alarm bells thinking it's happening again. So I got in touch with the hospital, because there is only 3 hospitals in the UK that actually deal with molar pregnancies, because it is that rare. Luckily, there was a specialist hospital that's 20-30 minutes away from where I am, so that was good. And they really supported me through every step of the molar pregnancy and the pregnancy after that one. And about 7 weeks, I went in. They told me I could go in for a scan just to check that it was a baby and not any molar tissue. So luckily, obviously, it was. And I had just had regular scans. I had 8-9 scans maybe throughout the whole pregnancy, but it doesn't make it any easier. That happiness that you feel when you first ever do a pregnancy test and it's positive, you don't get that again. Like I never got that feeling. I remember taking the test thinking it's wrong. I did another. We had so many private scans that we paid for, which looking back we shouldn't really have done that, but I just need the reassurance all the time. Every time I'd go to the toilet, I'd look for the blood every time. And yeah, it didn't, even being 36 weeks pregnant, I didn't feel like this is gonna happen for us. Also within that time, I'd set up a Instagram for myself personally to document what I'd gone through and the loss, and I had a lot of support on there. And towards the back end of the pregnancy, we set up the M word as well. So I had that support network. I had a lot of support there. And yeah, then I gave birth to this beautiful baby, who's nearly 2 in a few days' time. But I just never, even having him here now, it doesn't feel like, not that I don't deserve him, because obviously I know I do, but just that that molar pregnancy just, it destroys everything. But yeah, the support is what got me through it. The support network of other women that have gone through what I've gone through, miscarriages, infertility, that is what got me through my pregnancy with Lenny, I think.
Sounds like you had a really good support system, even in the hospital system, that you were, even the one that you had the molar pregnancy through, when they were saying we don't really know anything about this. Even after your procedure, they still had a way for you to honor your baby. Like, there are still so many women that go through loss and they don't get that offered to them. I'm sorry if I missed it, but do you want to explain sort of how a molar pregnancy, like what a molar pregnancy is?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Again, I've just had a quick look on the internet just to see what's there, and everything that's on there actually came a few months after I had lost the baby. So I was like, oh, March 2020. Oh, like all this information's coming out. So there's 2 types of a molar pregnancy. So you get a complete molar pregnancy where the sperm fertilizes the egg, but the egg from the mum contains no genetics. For some reason, it's a blank egg. There's nothing in there, which is what happened to us. Which there's no reason for that to ever happen. You don't know why, so you shouldn't blame yourself, but you do obviously still blame yourself. When a complete molar pregnancy happens, there is no tissue from a baby that forms. There's never a baby there, which again at the time I didn't really understand. The only way that the molar pregnancy can properly come to an end is having the operation here in the UK to completely get rid of the tissue. And that's the only way that it can happen. And then you can have a partial molar pregnancy, which is where 2 sperm fertilize the egg at the same time. Part of the baby then does form and it does become a fetus, but it contains 1 set of chromosomes from the mum and 2 set of chromosomes from the dad. So it'd never be able to be a viable pregnancy. The symptoms for the molar pregnancy are pretty much similar to being pregnant, so you wouldn't really know otherwise. Severe morning sickness or the nausea, swollen stomach, just those kind of things. Again, same with the pregnancy anyway. Most women don't need any further treatment. Like myself, you go through the 6 months, they monitor your bloods and your urine samples, and your hormone goes back to pre-pregnancy. In some rare cases, that doesn't always happen, and the tissue becomes deeper, and you then, this is where the cancer part does come into play, is that you do have to have chemotherapy then to get rid of any deeper tissue. So if your pregnancy hormones after 6 months are still way too high, obviously there's still tissue in there that's telling your body you're pregnant, and it's called a gestational trophoblastic disease, which is everyone just puts GTN, that's where it is everywhere, and you do have to have chemotherapy to get rid of that, under the specialist hospital, one of the 3 within the UK. There's one in Scotland, one here in Yorkshire, and then Charing Cross in London that deal with those. And yeah, I've met a few women that have done the chemotherapy part through Instagram, one of which has just had a successful pregnancy at the same time I had Lenny. The devastating part in all of that is the waiting. So if you have a molar pregnancy and your levels drop, you still have to wait that 6 months before you can try again. If you have to have the chemotherapy, you have to wait 12 months after chemotherapy is finished to get the all clear and to try again, which is devastating. That was the worst 6 months ever to wait. So I can't imagine these women that have to have the chemotherapy that have to wait the 12 months. Yeah, it is quite rare. It's about 1 in 600 women that get here in the UK anyway. I'm not sure what it is for you guys, but it is really rare. It's not heard of often. As I say, my hospital have not dealt with one for 10 years prior to myself. So, but yeah.
It's just, yeah, I mean, there's so many different elements to loss. Like when you start opening up the conversation, obviously there are so many different experiences. And I'm glad, I'm grateful that you were able to go into that much detail, because, you know, I'm hoping that if someone's listening in, they'll be able to take something away from that, because even it may not be your experience, but in knowing about this form of loss as well, it can help us open up the conversation. It can help us support those that are going through it. And
yeah, often it's not. I feel it being in the baby loss community through Instagram, a lot of people don't really have never heard of it, they've never heard of a molar pregnancy, or it's not really looked at as a type of loss. Like some people believe that it isn't a type of loss, whereas we was pregnant. For all we knew, for 13 weeks, we was having a baby. So for me, it is a loss. I mean, it is deemed a loss through all these different organizations. It is a loss. But for me personally, I also feel like there was a baby. We celebrate that every year on the 1st of January. We always light a candle. We always set a balloon off. We always do that. And the same on the due date. It was a baby for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, before you even realize anything that's going to happen, you know, in your path, as soon as you realize that you are pregnant, you don't ever assume, oh, this is not a baby, or this is not going to happen. You get attached to a baby. There's a positive pregnancy test. You get attached. You change the way that you think. You start creating all of these different goals and visions for yourself. And even though in your case, like as you were describing, a complete molar pregnancy is technically, there's nothing there, it is still in your, like you said, in your eyes and according to your body, that was still a pregnancy. You still left the hospital with nothing but a pamphlet. You still had to go through surgery. You still had to go through all of these different tests for yourself afterwards, there's still trauma, there's still grief, there's still loss. And, you know, I would absolutely class it as loss.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the way that of it, I was off work for quite a while. It just was, it was a loss. We always talk when we go to the hospital. When I was pregnant with Lenny, they say, this should be your first pregnancy. No, it's not. Your body, the HCG, the pregnancy hormone, is in your body, and whether that's elevated, whether that's a normal level, what, that was there for a reason. My body thought and believed it was carrying a baby, so it was it was a baby for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would still, like, you still have all the same emotions and same attachments and same, everything that a mum usually would go through. And you still never expect to leave a hospital without your baby,
No.
without your pregnancy progressing and you're leaving without a baby. So, that grief is absolutely there. And I couldn't imagine it sort of any other way, for someone to say that it's not a real loss. I absolutely do believe that it is.
Yeah.
And it still affects, like you were saying, your pregnancy after loss. Like, it's still on a level where you're more than susceptible to be going through another molar pregnancy, and you have similar fears, similar anxieties, similar, things associated with loss and going through that pregnancy after loss.
Yeah.
To be fearful of, everything repeating itself, of history repeating itself, because you don't actually have anything else to go by.
Yeah. Even now, so we lost another baby in July last year. It was about 6 weeks. Even that first positive test, I'd had the mole pregnancy, I've had a successful pregnancy with Lenny, and then still you just think this is not going to happen. And still now, looking to the future, hopefully we'll be having we would like another baby in the future. Still now, all that's in your head is, is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? So yeah, that's still there now.
Even if you have, like you said, you've had a healthy pregnancy in between, those fears, they still, like, and you end up having the miscarriage after your successful pregnancy. Regardless of having the successful pregnancy, you still revert back to the fear. Like, the fear is still so much greater than,
Yeah,
the faith that it could happen, that it'll be good.
yeah, absolutely. It really, really is. And like I said, without the support network from the Instagram, I don't know where I'd be now without that. As I say, I met 3 women through that, and still now we speak every single day and we support each other every single day. And that's who we set the M word up with. And without them, I don't know what I would have done. Not at all.
And that's the thing too, even when, like, you're navigating loss, like, you feel like it's, you have to carry everything yourself. You feel like you have to carry that weight on your own. You can't share it. You can't open up. But with, like, yourself and even myself, like, opening up, finding support, finding someone to talk to help lighten that load, to help you feel more validated, to feel more seen, is such a huge piece to the healing and recovery puzzle. Like, you need to have that person that you can talk to, or
Yeah,
people, for either, if it's a therapist, a coach, or counselor, or people from the same community, finding those people and really leaning on them for your healing.
Yeah, definitely, because I feel your partners get it. You know, they're living through that too, but it's not the same. It's, they get it. Like, my partner's really good. He gets upset too. And we get it, but it's nothing. It's not like other women that have experienced it physically, mentally, all of that as well.
Mm, yeah. And that's the thing, like your partner will obviously be going through their own healing and recovery as well. But if they can't be there for you the way that you need them to be, find someone that can. Find someone that
Yeah,
can be there, that can listen to you and is a safe person for you to open up to. And don't put so much pressure on your partner for not being able to be that person when, they don't even know what they're navigating sometimes.
no, no, they don't, not at all. It's difficult for them, isn't it? They
Mm.
don't know. They want to do the best for you, and sometimes it's not. They don't know, do they? They don't know what to do for the best.
Yeah, they try and do. They try. They got their hearts are in the right place most of the time, but they just it's it's just so different the way that they navigate it and the way that they think you need support. I think that's where a lot of the communication piece comes in as well. Like we need to be on both ends, be able to communicate what it is that we're actually needing.
Yeah,
It's hard sometimes.
it is. Yeah. Um. But yeah, like I said, so the M word we set up, we were all at a place where we wanted to help. We were all at very different stages. As I said, I was pregnant with Lenny. Two of the girls had, one girl had gone through three miscarriages, one was going through the third miscarriage, one had had a loss but had three children. So we were all in very, very different situations, but we still all got each other. We all had different losses to one another, but we all understood each other. And we were at a place where I was sharing my story on my own personal Instagram, and I was having people message. Still, I have people message now saying, "I've gone through a mole pregnancy recently. Can you share some advice or share something to help?" Um, and that's what it's about for me. Share. I never wanted to be part of this. I never wanted to. That I didn't obviously ever want this to happen to me. But unfortunately, that's the way the tables have turned, and that is what we've gone through. So to put a positive spin on that, I think's a really positive thing, to want to help others.
Mm, absolutely. And just that creating the community of like-minded people. Like it's never anything that you choose to have on your path. We end up being thrust into that and then going, okay, now what? Now how do I actually get myself to a place that I can function again, to a place that I can show up in my life again? Um, so I love that you're I love that you've been able to create that with the M word. Um, is there anything that the M word, you've got the social media account, is there anything else attached to that where you offer support?
We share people's stories on there. I think that's one of the biggest things that we do. We
Mm,
share quotes like that obviously people are feeling that maybe they don't know how to express, but we share people's stories every week on every type of loss. Um, and it helps them. We get messages all the time to say, just letting me type out what I've gone through has helped. And then sharing that to other people that might not be so so brave to share their story, or they don't know how to share their story, and they can read that on there. We find that so helpful to a lot of people. We've shared a few stories about termination for medical reasons, things like that, and the amount of support from others that have gone through it that you don't realize that are following, or that, and they see that, and it's just so helpful. That is one of the best things I think we decided to do, was to share everyone else's stories.
And it just lets everyone else see that they're not alone going through it as well. And like you said, there are going to be people out there that won't be in the position to share their story, whether it's in that moment or ever. They may never want to share it, but to be able to read someone else's story and see themselves in that, and then go, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy. I'm not making this up. Someone else has felt this too. I think that's a very powerful piece of awareness as well.
Yeah, definitely it is.
Just before we wrap up, I just want to ask you a question. So what do you wish you knew after experiencing pregnancy loss? What do you wish you knew after experiencing pregnancy loss?
Just that there's other people around you. At the time, it feels like you're the only one, but you're not. There is support out there. It's not always easiest to find, but it is out there. And just to talk if you feel like you can do so, because if not, living with those thoughts, it's a deep, dark path. So yeah, definitely reaching out, support, talking.
Yeah. Finding that safe place, if it's a community, a page, a person, therapist.
Yeah.
Just being able to start talking, start sharing, and getting off your chest all of that weight.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, where can people find you?
So we've got the M Word Instagram. We're also on Facebook, although we don't post it as often on there, but we do have that too. And we have an email address as well that you can always reach out to us on as well.
Yeah, amazing. I'll post all of that in the show notes as well. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we go?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for you being here, Emily. Thank you so much for being a part of the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast.
No, thank you for letting me come on and share my story, and share the M Word for hopefully people to follow and to reach out and have support there.
Yeah. I really appreciate you in being so open with your story, and being able to share some information around that as well. Hopefully educating other people in, what a molar pregnancy is. And absolutely reaching out to you guys, or just jumping onto your Instagram page if you need that sense of community validation in what you're feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.